Welcome to Mick and the Psychic, where we leave no stone unturned as we explore all things outside the apparent physical realm.
There is no intent to teach or make you believe or disbelieve anything. It is just a safe space to listen and explore with us.
So for this next episode, you have permission to open your heart and mind as you join myself and Xavier on this deep dive into the unknown.
Initiation in ancient times is about being in your most vulnerable state. So you can't initiate yourself. It has to be unaware, and it has to be from a godhead or from a spiritual realm of coming in and saying, right, now I'm going to frighten the shit out of you.
Actually really lucky to have access to this incredible woman today because she's actually home for once and not overseas. We'll be speaking to the Witch of Oz, Tamara von Forslun. I know, who I think has the most boss tagline on her website. If I am indeed wise, I do not bid you enter the house of my wisdom, but rather lead you to the threshold of your own mind. That is like the most boss tagline ever. I love that.
Awesome.
Tamara's been studying, practicing, and teaching Wicca, witchcraft, magic, shamanism, tarot, herbal medicine for over 5 decades, which is incredible because she's like 36.
Yep.
She's published, I think, 9 books. Is it 9 books, Tamara?
There are more, but they're in a different pseudonym.
Under a different alias. Okay, very good. So 9 books that you know of, and a whole lot of others you may have read. That is actually from Tamara as well. Is it the High Priestess Elder of the Clan of Crows? Am I close?
That's close. That'll do.
No, give me the real one.
I'm actually the matriarch for the Tribe of the Crow, which is worldwide, and the matriarch for clans of Voskeden, which are all over the world as well. But I am a high priestess, which is more of a first level. So I'm beyond that. So it's sort of, which is like kindergarten.
Totally
That's where you learn not to fall off your broomstick when you start flying.
I love this.
That's Hogwarts Academy or something.
Hogwarts Academy. I love it. Okay, so thank you very much for that clarification. That's really important. But you also founded Wicca as a recognised religion here in Australia. So that's a big thing in itself.
That's huge.
And you're the most perfect person to talk to about the ancient systems that can lead to a reawakening in the 21st century. And I've done a little bit of reading, and that doesn't sound very good for the current patriarchal society, Tamara. So I look forward to talking a little bit more about that and not falling off the broomstick. Tamara, welcome to Mick and the Psychic.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And tell me a little bit about this name, Mick and the Psychic. So who's Mick and who's the Psychic?
Oh, yes. I'm definitely not Mick.
I identify as Mick, and optimistic Xavier.
I identify as a psychic.
So we got to spell that correctly. Did you say psychic or sidekick?
Yeah.
Funny. You got to be the other way around. He'd be like, no, I'm the sidekick.
Yeah, there's no. I talk a lot, but there's no patriarchal structure to Mick and the Psychic. I come first, but I also come last. Well, that sounds terrible.
I was going to say,
don't even, Xavier.
Don't even edit that. That was great.
Yeah, well, usually after a couple of drinks, even the word psychic gets said a bit wrong. Sometimes I call it piss chick.
Piss chick.
Piss chick. I shouldn't do readings when I've had a few drinks, but they are funny.
I think psychic is just short for psychic chick anyway, so that's fine.
It's one unless it's not a chick, but anyway.
Yeah.
True.
So sometimes when you're talking, I might tune in and add some insight or something, although I don't know if I can add any insight to you because I feel like you're floating up here. But yeah, because this is we have so many questions because we're so curious, like being a psychic, speaking about that. When I was a teenager, I feel like every teenage girl and so many boys as well, when they were young and interested in the spiritual world, they would have all been curious about witchcraft and Wicca and looking it up. And I know I had a big spell book when I was a teenager and I used to read it. But then because society kind of makes witches look like, and TV shows and movies, like there's evil or it's from the dark side and all this kind of stuff, I kind of got a bit nervous when I was looking up things and learning, thinking I was doing something wrong or bad and I might bring in something evil or do something wrong. So I kind of steered away from it. So this is the area that I would love to talk about, is all that and how it's society's made witches look, or this whole covenant. I don't even understand about the coven and all the levels, and I think it's so fascinating and beautiful. And I know so many beautiful people that identify as Wiccans, and I'd just love to know more and help people learn and educate themselves so they're not afraid of witches and you know, all the different things that we hear about. So please enlighten us.
Well, there's several terms, and the term Wicca, you can be a Wiccan without being a witch. You can be a witch without being a Wiccan. You can be a pagan without being a Wiccan or a witch. So these are all just loose terms that are used today in the 21st century. Many people brandish the word witch because they like the aspect of, ooh,
sounds
it's
amazing,
great, you know,
I'm cool.
but they don't even know how to spell the word, so it doesn't have much meaning or in-depth
I just got goosebumps.
sense about it.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is that Wicca has been around since the appeal for witchcraft in the 1950s in England, which then made it legal to practice. Before that, you could be imprisoned, you can even go to the jail, you can even be put to death. And of course, the last person was in the 1960s, sorry, the 1950s, that actually was hanged in Scotland for witchcraft. So it's as late as that. So the thing is that, you know, there's so many different concepts, and in this day and age, there's so many different types of witch. And I'm old school, so when I hear, oh, I'm a black witch, a white witch, a pink witch, a green witch, a grey witch, a rainbow witch, whatever
we
you want
talked
to call
about that beforehand. Yeah, please tell us
and
about
I
that.
think, oh my God, for what, you know, what the hell, you know, you're it's like saying, well, I'm a brain surgeon, you know, and waking up one morning, and that's what I find these days. There's so many people that just wake up one minute and say, oh, I'm a witch today.
Yeah.
And, you know, the whole concept about it is that it takes years of training, years of preparation, and correct training. And yes, you can be a solitary Wiccan or witch if you want to be that. But I still look at witchcraft as a format of like shamanism. You have to be initiated and trained into that concept. But because there are so many variations of it around the world, there are so many different ways of looking at it. Because of my history, my lineage, and how I was trained in the past, I've been lucky. I've grown up with it since being young. And I think that people need to understand that there's a very big difference between traditional witchcraft, modern witchcraft, and Wicca. Very, very much so. Traditional witchcraft is all totally different to what people think. It's about connecting with nature more than what people think. It's about opening up one's senses to the feminine and masculine. Yes, as you said, you know, the patriarchy side or the matriarchy side, you know, it's about honoring mama and papa. It's not about saying, well, one's better than the other, but one is needed more today in this world because we need the feminine for the passion, the compassion, and the balance.
Yes.
Yeah. But the sad truth of it is that the world has come turnabout so dangerously that men have become more feminized because they're trying to be in that. They're trying to understand, which is wrong. They can be a masculine warrior with having that feminine inside.
With balance.
But women are also becoming masculinized. So we're looking, and you walk down the street and you think, oh, is that person gay? Is that person? Because everyone has changed so much in their appearances because of their emotional attitudes and their, if you wish, psychic attitudes, that their inner self is changing with it, that they are taking on a more feminine or more masculine role, but for the opposite sex of what they are. And people don't need to change. They don't need to transition their physicality to be able to understand the balance that is within. And it's like when people say, oh, well, witchcraft is about balance, about male and female. But it's not. And a lot of people say, well, witchcraft's a fertility religion, so it's about sex and all this other thing. And I go, well, I wish it was. I would have joined earlier. The fact is, it's not. It's about the inner soul, the inner spirit being sexless and ageless. You know, it's only the physical body that we've got that has that sexuality or that masculine or male or female concept, because the soul is neither or both and yet everything. So people need to understand that true witchcraft is not about the physicality of who we are or what we're becoming or what we've made ourselves to become. It's about tapping into the very source, the mana, the soul, the spirit, whatever you want to call it, light force that's within. And that's what we need to work with. And then by doing that, you can then learn to connect more with nature, with what's happening in nature, see the invisible within the visible, and understand that everything has a life force, everything has an essence, and we're all connected like a massive, big, magical, spiritual, psychic web. And it's up to us whether we sever that web or we ride the strings and harmonize with the rest of the orchestra, which is nature.
It
Wow.
sounds you sound like a yogi. Honestly, the things that you are saying sounds like what the yogis are teaching as well, with the being the timeless, connecting with the timeless part that doesn't have a sex or a body or even a mind, and connecting more with that. So it's not even the balance. It's about the fact that that's external to what you are anyway.
Yes.
Very interesting, the comparisons to that. And obviously, you know, the Vedas are a very old set of books, and probably the oldest that we can find at the moment. So it seems like a bit of a theme with that sort of thing. With what's going on, maybe not personally, but more as a society, where we're seeing a lot of that more woke way of thinking coming through. Do you think that's like a response to a very strong patriarchal society, and because the balance is out, that it has to swing, not has to, but it's swung crazy the other way as a response to that, to try and pull things back together?
I think it's more about human nature, and humans are tired. They're frightened. They're scared. They're running around like chooks with their heads off, because the world has changed so drastically in the last few years with fear of wars. You know, like humans used to say, well, I want to get up and go to work. I want to go and do this. I want to have a home. I want to have a family. I want to do this. I want to believe in God. But these days, the concept is I have to go to work. I have to pay my bills. I have to do this. And it's this having to pressure on top of the fear of wars, of governments and society taking away our own reality and saying, well, we're in charge of you. You've got to do what we say. You've got no authority in anything because we're taking it away from you. And then you look at pandemics and everything. The world has become frightened and people are scared. And when people get scared, they're retaliative, they're angry, they're frustrated, and they retaliate in a protective manner, that they're just trying to protect themselves the best way they can, even though they may be ignorant to what the problem is. They're still trying to understand it, so much so that they just want to retaliate, and they're becoming very aggressive. And you can be positively aggressive in a spiritual sense by taking control of your life. And I mean, when I travel to America, a lot of people, you know, are around me. I've got the guardians who are my protection team that keep me safe and look after me and all this sort of thing. And it sounds weird.
This is from the other side or from the physical side?
Oh, no, the physical
Oh,
side.
okay.
You've got
So you
to
have
remember,
people around you.
oh, it's a tall poppy syndrome. See, I don't care about life and my physicality because it doesn't worry me. I'm not afraid of things. You know, if I could fall over tomorrow and have a heart attack, or a Mack truck can drive through my house. Well, a Mack truck couldn't drive by my house because my driveway is about 8 kilometers long. But
it'd be very deliberate if it did. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
We love interviewing experts from different fields about all things outside the apparent physical realm.
And the one constant is that these phenomena are transmitted through energy.
So we sought out and teamed up with Subtle Energy Science
To bring to you, our listeners,
energetically encoded technology you can use on your phone, laptop, computer, or tablet.
turning your device into a powerful personal quantum energy tool.
We're not the creators, nor are we qualified enough to explain it, but there is a mind-blowing number of scientific studies available on their website.
We get to try the range ourselves so we can give an honest review.
And from September to the start of December, we've got 20% off digital cannabis with promo code MATP-861.
Now, this is not physical cannabis. It's the digital transmitted quantum energy source of cannabis. So you get the stress relief, the anti-inflammatory benefits, even mild euphoria without the negative effects or addiction.
Although from experience, opening multiple files can result in lots of giggles and not getting much done.
But it's just that in America, I'm quite well known over there. And the thing is that there's a lot of groups out there that are fundamentalists and crazies that I represent. like the peak at some form of tower that they see. So then, that's negative. That's nasty. I'm the devil's daughter, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's just sad, but I don't understand that. And I don't understand why we need to protect ourselves. I don't think I do. I don't care. And I've been confronted a lot of times. I mean, when I used to have the Alchemy Herbal Centre, which was one of the biggest organic herbal naturopathic centres in Australia, I used to have Christians coming in and praying for my shop, and I go, "Oh, great, thank you, bring it in, pray. The more prayers, the better, and that's all good." No, you didn't like that. They were waiting for me to react and say, "Get out of here, you don't belong here." And I'm going,
"No, evil," and they're bringing in God.
Yeah.
And so they're
and I used to.
They don't
Well,
get
I used to love it. And then I'd have the Buddhist monks coming in. And when you were talking about yogis and that, what you've got to realize is that witchcraft is shamanism. And it's very raw, ancient format. But today we've made it so, look, every witch is a crystal witch. And I don't like crystals in my home.
Okay.
The reason being is that I will not abuse the earth or take from the earth just to adorn myself with these wonderful, powerful objects. Because if crystals have all this power that we're using and utilizing or directing, then maybe that's why it's in Mother Earth, to keep her healthy and strong. And by us ripping them out, we're ripping out her organs, and that's why she's depleting in energy.
Yeah. I've heard lots of people with that opinion.
Wow.
And very the crystals I do have, I've always felt like the less they're played with and touched and tampered with, I prefer. And I'm kind of torn between. I just saw someone shared a video of this massive big crystal, and they cut it all up and turned it into a crystal ball, and I was emotional. I'm like, like, you could have just left it as a whole piece. Why do you have to? This one wasn't dug out. It was like, I just. So I'm sort of torn between the two beliefs there with that.
But see, the problem is, as humans, they think they can do a better job than Mother Nature. Mother Nature's taken millions of years to create these things, and we take them in 5 minutes and turn them into little pieces of lockets. And now, when I used to go to spiritual events or festivals or psychic fairs and things like this, like Mind Body Spirit fairs, I mean, they used to call me the matriarch of Mind Body Spirit because I was there for that many years that people used to line up to come and see me. And then I'd look around, and we used to have one crystal store that used to sell crystals. Now there's hundreds of the
Every
damn
second
thing.
store. Yeah.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And they're becoming like, sorry, but they're becoming like the Chinese that just want to keep taking. The whole concept of everything in this world is that if we take a 10% of whatever is on offer, then we're doing something wonderful with it. But when we take 90% and leave 10%, then it becomes abuse. And we're raping and pillaging. And that's exactly what we're doing with everything. Because humans don't know how to stop. They can see money and power behind everything that they do.
Well, this is why Earth keeps getting destroyed and starting again.
Yeah. And why we're having more seasonal problems and rain, and floods and fires, because the planet, as long as we keep taking, she can't replenish and heal herself. And we keep taking, and we keep polluting, and we keep sort of breeding beyond things. Humans are parasites. We just stick to it and take without even thinking of the consequences. And it's like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll do it next life. Well, we won't, because we may not have a new life. And I look at Mother Nature, and Mother Nature will always be here. The Earth, planet will always be here. It's mankind that's going to be wiped out.
Exactly. That's the thing. The Earth has been here a lot longer before us, and it'll be here a lot longer afterwards, and it'll repair itself. I think we're kind of like the only species on this planet where if we go, the planet gets better. The planet improves. We lose bees, we're in trouble. We lose humans, it's good.
There's also only 2 species on the planet that war. Humans and ants.
Oh, right. Okay.
They're the only 2 species. No other animal or creature or whatever will war or fight in massive groups against others.
We're just big ants.
Ants are very religious, obviously, as well. Speaking of religion, though, so my inner Christian boy that grew up in the church, I'm so looking forward to having this conversation with you. And when we spoke on the phone beforehand, I instantly fell in love. You're a
so
wonderful
excited.
person, Tamara. But still, like that little Christian boy is like, ooh, talking to a witch. I don't know about a witch. It's interesting, though. The more you understand things, the more the maybe the thing that you practice beforehand makes a little bit more sense. So one thing in, the Christian faith was always to say grace before your meal. So I always grew up knowing to say grace and be grateful before your meal. And I understood why, like, be grateful the food is there. And it wasn't till more recently, studying other texts and more Hindu texts as well, where they talked about, our bodies, everything comes from the earth. And what we're selfishly doing every time we eat is we're sacrificing the life of something else, whether it's plants or meat, whatever it is. We're sacrificing the life of something else to turn whatever that is into this body, to keep this body going. So in eating, you're selfishly saying, I'm more important than the other living stuff on this planet every time you eat. There's the Buddhist stories of the couple where they're in the jungle and the child is dying and they're going to starve if they don't get to the town soon. The child is dying, the child dies, and they have to survive, to make it to the town, they have to eat the child, otherwise they won't survive. And it's talking about every meal you should have is the same as this story, as if you were eating your own child that is nourishing you to keep going. And that brought a whole new perspective for me on what grace and like being thankful for your food is. And it's interesting when you're talking about the crystals, that came up for me, that, people are like, oh, it's a crystal. Oh, it does that. Oh, it does this. And you're talking about, do you have any idea what's in your hand? That this is a healing thing. So if you're going to use a crystal, like, know that this is something from the land for the land. So if you're using it, you've got to be so thankful. So seeing.
And what can you give back with when you use it?
Yeah, that gave me context to your disgust at seeing a whole lot of crystal stalls, because like, oh, how is that disgusting? People are just trying to share crystals and light. But when you look at it in that sense, that's a very interesting way of looking at it a little bit differently.
The other thing with plants as well is plants have a life. If you take them out just before the peak of their life, then what it is they're actually sacrificing themselves, as far as I see, because if you leave it longer, they will die anyway.
Yeah, right.
If they're left there. So that's a different format.
There's ways of doing that. Yeah, right.
And there's ways of doing it. But the thing is the term sacrifice is also something where shamans or witchcrafts have always blessed and thanked the life of whatever it is they're taking. And this is why grace, as you call it, is something that's quite strong and quite important to a lot of people, because you're not just looking at the piece of food or fruit that's in front of you. You're saying, well, okay, you're blessing the person that grew it, that looked after it, that nourished it, that gave it love and support and all these things. But then can you do that these days where 90% of the food is commercially grown with chemicals and crap like this? And I mean, it's like silver beet or spinach. Spinach in the 1970s had 90% protein. In the 90s, it had 27% protein. Now it has around about 6.4% protein.
Wow.
Is organic any different? Sorry.
Well, organic is different, but it's also about the land. It's about the earth, and only certified organic is where it's specialized. So certified organic, but then you've got to pay $75,000 to get a certification.
Yes.
Which is ridiculous.
I pay good money for my organic veggie and fruit box to getting delivered.
Yeah. But you should grow your own.
Quite organic.
If
I had room, I definitely would.
But there's ways of doing it. I teach herbal medicine.
Beautiful.
You can do things
in plants and pots and on walls and all.
Yeah, you can have massive tube runners on the walls, on your balconies or on patios, and grow it all. And it's great for you. Even on windows, fill in a windowsill with a whole thing and have a living window of plants hanging and herbs. It's easy to do.
That. Thank you for knocking my excuse out of the park. Yes, I can do that. What am I talking about?
An excuse.
I know this.
Yeah, we should never have an excuse, because an excuse is just a way of saying, well, I don't want to do it, or I'm lazy, or I don't understand, or I don't know how to. So you've got to work out which one it is.
Yes, that's mine.
Every time we take a breath, we're learning something new. And if we don't understand that, this is why we call it mother breath. And every time we take a breath, we honor the sacred breath of life that gives us that. Because you hear so many people, even now in the New Age movement, talking about the elements of earth, air, fire, and water. Well, to us, air is the mediator. It's the mediator between all the others, because without air, fire can't exist. Without air, water can't exist. Without air, earth can't exist. We need all these things. So the fact is, this mediator is air and oxygen, and yet we're also polluting and destroying that as well. You know, most of us are not breathing correctly. We've forgotten to breathe where we used to breathe when we were children and babies. And that's psychic breathing or psychic breath that is formulated from so many different ancient cultures, teaching you how to breathe correctly with a count of 4, because the count of 4 is that subliminal count that helps regulate all your organs and bring them into harmony and balance. Or we call them spinning wheels or spiral wheels or earth centers. You call them chakras, you know, because it's the Eastern philosophies.
Yeah. There's a lot of similarities there. I wonder, particularly with the shamanism, there's a big difference between people that talk about these things and then people with a deep wisdom about these things. And I feel like when someone that's practiced a lot of shamanism talks to you about plants and really understanding, you know, the real meanings behind things and how to do things. Do you think it's through ritual and these practices that you get a true understanding rather than just a knowledge of, yeah, you should be thankful for your food? You know, there's levels, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that it's like you cannot just say I'm a witch or I'm a shaman. You just can't say it, because
Hear
the
it all
whole
the
thing
time.
is it takes a lifetime. When you go back thousands of years ago, there was only one shaman in a village or one witch in a village, and that's exactly all there was. There wasn't covens. Covens were created to protect people because of the burning times, you know, between the 1300s and 18 or 1700s. So we've got to sort of look at things differently. And when a shaman gets to a certain age, they would usually take a child from the village, or parent would give them the child if the child was different or deformed or something like that. And they would take that child, and through that whole lifetime, that shaman would teach them about the earth, about the cycles, the seasons, the hunting, the magic, the mysteries. And it takes a lifetime. And even in a lifetime, you still can't get it. So I don't call myself a witch. I haven't. Other people call me a witch. That's the thing. And the title, The Witch of Oz, comes from the father of witchcraft in America, from Raymond Buckland, who was my mentor and one of my teachers, sort of thing, or friend. And the thing is that, you know, I've been around a long time, so I've got to meet a lot of people and know a lot of people. And it's not because of ego that I've got to where I am, because I've been knocked down more times than most. But I've also got people that help lift me up as well. And it's the community of people that are around me that strengthen me and keep me going. And that's the wonderful thing about community more than anything. And I think the term shaman, if people really would just stop and understand and saying, I want to be a shaman, or I want to be a witch.
Or I'm learning. Or
you
just say you're learning, or I'm in training, or what's the...
No, I'm preparing, or I want to be, because it's like saying, I want to be a brain surgeon. You don't wake up one day and say, I'm a brain surgeon. You go and study.
Yes.
And it's like saying, I am a priest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, you study to be a priest, you become a monk, then you study for years to become that, because you have to understand your whole faith, the concept of your religion and everything. And then you have to be a teacher. You have to be a holy man or holy woman. And you've got to be able to bring these and share them with people and help elate people or elevate people from the mundane plane to the full stool of the gods, I call it, where you can be elevated at the footsteps of true deity. And deity is not just without, it's within. We've just got to awaken that.
I hear a lot of people, I think, mix up, and I don't know that it's their fault. I think they need to stop doing that. But I don't know that it's their fault, because that maybe it's a lack of education, which I guess people like you are on this planet for as well, helping educate. But I think, you know, doing shaman activities doesn't make you a shaman, just like praying doesn't make you a priest. So a priest prays, but praying doesn't make you a priest. I think people need to remember that. It's like, I do shaman things is different. So like if you hold a space for someone to do a ceremony where you're using kind of you know, natural medicines or drugs or, you know, that sort of thing, then that's a very shamanistic thing to do. But if your life isn't as lived as a shaman is like a life, isn't it? Like I wrote down lifestyle as a witch when you're talking about that.
From the time you wake up in the morning, your life should be surrounded by mystery magic. And it's about connecting with everything that is. And this is why when people say to me, oh, I'm a pagan, I say, oh, well, what aspect? And they go, what do you mean? I say, well, what part of paganism are you? Because, you know, the word pagan comes from the Greek pagus, meaning village or people or ways of the world or earth or whatever you want to call it. It's changed that many times over the world, you know. So, and the thing is people don't realize that a pagan is just a concept of all the old pre-religions before the new one God religions came into effect a couple of thousand years ago. So when I say what sort of pagan do you follow? The Greek tradition or the Roman, or the Egyptian or the Pantheon or the Assyrian or Babylonian, you know, what? And do you live on the earth? Do you live as the earth? Or do you drive around in motor vehicles polluting the earth with your telephones?
You need to really embody it, yeah.
I live off grid. I'm in the middle of nowhere, you know.
I would love to do that.
And the thing is it used to be inexpensive to do it, but now it's so expensive. But then you've got all these people wanting this. But what they do is they screw up so badly because they come from the city, but they want the city in their own little world surrounded by trees.
Of course, because we've grown up with that, though.
Yeah, so they bring all the palm trees and plant all their palm trees and have their little oases instead of all natural bush plants and things that don't need to waste water. I mean, human beings, especially in Australia, we're just such fools. We have 1% of the world's fresh water in this country, only 1%. And yet we have more mining structures that waste billions of gallons of water, fresh water. That is our life source. Nothing else on this planet. We need more than water.
I think it takes 7 liters of water to create 1 plastic bottle. I remember reading that somewhere. And I was just mortified. That's why I don't.
Well, go and see what they do out there. I mean, if they, instead of using the water from mining, if they put pipes down to go to the ocean and draw the water from the ocean, if they need to do that, because they just use it to spray down roads and things like this and waste water. But if they just use the pipeline, and a salinization thing to get rid of the salts or whatever, there's apples of water in the salt, but there's not apples of fresh water on our planet. And we are losing so much. And I guarantee 50 to 100 years, you're going to be people are going to be so stressed. I feel sorry for the next generations.
Well, there's a shortage of water in some parts of the US now at the moment. Which is
it's a world shortage. It's a world shortage. But I'm just saying that we've only got 1%, where Europe and Asia has about 70%. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good stat to know.
Interesting. I have a question. The reason our podcast was created is because Michael and I were having a chat about, because he's a hypnotherapist and me being a psychic, and then we met in this what do you call it?
Oh, it's just a networking event.
And he was talking about how he does hypnosis and sometimes it goes into past lives, just timeline. And then I was talking about how I also do that for my clients to help heal and release them, but then I see them, whereas he takes them through so they see it and then I do it for them, and the different styles, and he didn't even know that was a thing, that other people did that. And we were chatting, and I would love to know your belief system around reincarnation or past lives.
Past lives, regression or reincarnation, which
is that a thing in Wiccan or your beliefs?
Well, of course it is. I mean, we keep, it's like when I mean, like this September, I have people from all over the world coming to me that have been training with me only for 1 year, but they're going to be initiated as witches. So they will be initiated by me, and they're coming from all over the place. And the thing is they've been preparing for it. But just by being granted that word doesn't grant them any power. It means this is where your journey will begin. This is where you start. So when you're talking about past lives, when I say to that, I say, you know, I'm the matriarch, I'm your mum, I'm your mother, you know, and I'm welcoming you back home because maybe you're taking off where you were in a past life. And we're proceeding. And similar to other older concept, whether it's Hinduism or Buddhism's not as old, but all these.
It comes from Hinduism anyway, so whatever. Yeah,
Mm.
same.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they are. I mean, I have a home in Indonesia and Bali where I've lived in Ubud, had for 30,
Oh,
40
beautiful.
years.
Mm.
And one of my sons up there that I've adopted, he's Hindu, and we go to the temples and all that sort of thing. So it's quite spectacular to understand. And when it comes to regression, I met a couple of the greats that were the chiefs of regression techniques for the Christos experiment, the Glaskins technique. These are all ancient techniques that have been used for hundreds of years, but brought into a more modern concept where it's easy for people to help doing that. And now a lot of psychotherapy is used in doing this regressive techniques using the Christos or Glaskins techniques in regression.
Yeah.
So yes, I understand it all. I think it's all quite wonderful. I do connect, and when I connect with people, like now, I mean, just to give you a bit of an idea of whether you want to call it psychic, I don't use that term because it's pretty different. But the fact is that you connect with people and you say, okay, has this person been in my family or in my world in the past?
Yes.
So I might have 100 students, and out of those 100 students, I take 12.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes I feel that they're not ready for that step. And some of them come across that they're so incredible, that they're so ready and they're so ripe. And I say to them, for 2 months prior to before your initiation, you will fade away. You will have other concerns and problems and you will disappear. You will not proceed. And I will not allow to proceed. And that's what happens.
Yep.
The world changes. And the abilities to be able to, like when I used to teach students, I used to have a group of 50 people in a classroom, and that was for a whole year, teaching them the outer court, the full in-depth training. And we would have meditation, we would have learning, we would have theory and practice, we would have dancing. I'd teach them some songs, and I'd teach them how to do sort of like a martial art, Tai Chi, but it's a primitive format for shamanism. It's very different.
Flow of energy.
And it's working with that from different parts of the bodies. And people just didn't realize the in-depth of it. And this is why probably I've become quite popular, because of my techniques of teaching have been very in-depth. I mean, I'm offering a course. I've got another one starting up in October, and that's a whole year. And people are amazed that I don't charge a fortune. I charge $250 for the year. That's all I charge for one meeting a week by Zoom and teaching, and they get to meet the clan. And then that's the first level of teaching. Then they've got another year and another year, but there's no costs. I offer my teachings for free. So it's about that. And that's why I have groups and people coming from all over the world, because I'm offering something simple but very, very meaningful and very, very in-depth and real.
I was
and
just
I've
going
got
to say real as the word that was coming up and you said it.
and it is real. It is real. And I've got people, look, I've had Buddhist monks. I mean, I traveled with the Dalai Lama for ages and worked with him. I worked with him for 11 years. You know, and I've got photos with him and all that sort of thing. And I've done my oracle cards, which is something that I've created that's taken me years and years and years as an oracle, because I am an oracle. Ever since I was 12 years of age, I've been running my groups as an oracle, invoking a goddess aspect into myself and then speaking as a goddess. And for years, they've always recorded me when I'm talking, and they've always put that. And now I've put that into an oracle set for people.
I've got a question. I had another question that's written down, so I won't go to it. And this just came up. Okay. So you being an oracle, we've been talking a little bit about past lives. Are you aware that you've picked, like, clearly this life for you has been pretty jam-packed with a lot of stuff very quickly as well. So, you know, 5 decades of work, you've obviously jammed a lot in, because you're clearly not that old. So within that, we're talking lifetimes here, all right? So we're all young, right? So don't worry about it. You're not centuries old. Well, you are, but not in this form. Yeah.
Not in this physical form.
You may have felt that at 3 a.m. when you were rounding the cattle up. So with this, are you aware of any previous past lives, as in direct previous past lives, as in not like, oh, I remember when I was, you know, back in Cleopatra's day, as in the life just before or the life just before that, where you've been building up to this life with jammed in a whole lot of stuff? Are you aware of picking up where you left off, like where you're helping others?
Yes and
Okay.
no.
Okay. Ooh. Okay. Yeah. All right.
I
That's
can see
enough.
so many
Next
things
question.
going
No,
on.
I'm joking. Answer that better than that. Yes.
There's so much going on around Tamara, like your
Give
energy.
me
When you say
something.
certain things, stuff shifts. I'm loving watching your energy move when the questions come up. It's just cool.
I mean, the thing is there's certain snippets that we can see. I believe that most things that we connect with as a past life, we have a real part of it, a third of it, which is real and genuine. We have a psychological or subconscious concept of it. And then we've got our pretend side that we think or feel or pretend or maybe.
Something the ego wants.
Oh, yeah. You know, I've met 4,000 Cleopatras. It's incredible.
I haven't met any yet. I'm so disappointed. But yeah, I know there's a few out there. That's why I threw that.
There's a reason that some people think that you can be someone famous. That's another topic.
Yeah, but a lot of the time though, it potentially is ego. But so for you with these recent ones, which bits, and it's not normal. I'll have to say it's not normal for someone to remember their direct previous past life as being important.
See, we're trained.
Only
we're
people
trained,
where there's a lot in there.
We're trained to awaken.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
most of the
in
time.
our order, we are trained to remember and awaken. So that where we bring our knowledge from the past into the present to formulate and create the future.
Beautiful.
So we're trained in those areas.
That's a very similar concept to how I've been taught. And then, sorry, I'm interjecting because when I got taught to heal and clear past lives for people, not them seeing it, I would clear the things they don't need that's inhibiting in them and holding them back in this life. But then I added in myself because I was shown to integrate the good things and the lessons and experiences that would help them in this life and in future lives or the other lives that are happening at the same time. So I love that. That really resonates. It's beautiful. Sorry.
And yeah, I think the stipulation for me, and
it's just in a different way.
Yeah, I should make it a bit more clear. So when past lives come up and it comes up all the time now in regression work because it happened and I opened myself up to it. And now it's all the time.
Yes.
That's what happens. But with that, it's for therapeutic benefit. So the person comes in with a certain concern and their subconscious brings through a past life. So I don't bring it through or anything. It comes through. And that's exactly related to the purpose of why they're in here. And it's a piece of that life. And it's that piece of life where there's an emotional attachment. It's really, really quite rational as to what happens. And then as that's released, then they have the opportunity to now grow without that holding them back, right? And if we've had thousands and thousands and thousands of past lives, like there's a good reason why we have a species of amnesia where we wake up and we start again. Otherwise, we couldn't get anything done because there's so many lives in there. So, but it's not normal though that someone would remember like literally just their previous life building up to their current life. In fact, I've only ever heard of that once in the world. I'm sure it's happened a few times, but I find that when there's people like yourself that are doing so much of this stuff from a very early age, that potentially there's been a couple of lives maybe leading up to that. Are you aware of like the lead up lives? And this is different to any kind of past life regression stuff that happens for everyone else. It's kind of specific.
We are, because the thing that people don't understand is there's a lot more people that are aware of their previous life. Because that's what initiation is in a shamanic or witchcraft format. We are initiated to awaken or open the soul up. So the soul to us is like a library. And when we open up the soul of knowledge, we then open up that aspect of ourselves when we're initiated. So it's like cutting open the veil, freeing people so that they bring all their intrinsic works and knowledge and everything with them into this existence. This makes it simpler and easier because it's never forgotten. It's always back there in that spirit realm of our little library.
Of course, yeah.
So this is why when people say, oh, I'm a witch and I'm a shaman, I say, well, okay, that's fine. I never argue the point. I just say, okay, that's great. And then I walk away. The thing is that I know straight away with meeting people whether they are or not. And that just seems to be something that's very, very important to me. And it's just really hard when people say, I'm this, and I say, well, have you been initiated? They go, well, I don't have to be. I had my own type of initiation. I was awakened. I go, okay, yeah, sure. But initiation, yes, it means to begin. And they take this word out of context, where initiation in ancient times is about being in your most vulnerable state, in your most emotional state of experiencing every absolute emotion, fear, love, lust, hunger, whatever it is. But you cannot do that on your own. You cannot put yourself in a frightful situation or in that way and say, now I'm awakened, because there's nothing that you do can be unpreparing, because it's already in your psyche. So you can't initiate yourself. It has to be unaware, and it has to be from a Godhead or from a spiritual realm of coming in and saying, right, now I'm going to frighten the shit out of you because I'm going to kill you. You're going to die. I'm going to make you die and be in the blackest hollow of your world. And then I'm going to give you the purest light in the world and bring you out of that into this new existence with everything that has ever been.
I love that.
And awaken it.
Yep. It's
and I've sat in a room with 100 people, and they go, but how do you know that? And I say, okay, next week when you come, I want you each to put an object into an envelope. Nothing on it, just a personal object. And then they bring it into me. And this is one of my tests to show them how to do this. And they put them all into a big bucket. And then I'll come in, and then we start the meeting. And then I'll pick up this one or this one, and then I'll throw it to the person that it belongs to. And I've only ever been wrong with one item. And that was a husband and wife, mixed energies.
I was going to say, were they in the room and actually, like, did they try to play a trick on you, or were they connected?
No, they know not to play a trick. Yeah.
Yeah, they were connected.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't be playing tricks. I wouldn't mess with that. No, probably not.
Exactly. Wow. I love this. This is so beautiful. Oh my goodness. I always get emotional when I'm connecting with other people's past lives where I have seen they've been either a witch or a herbalist or something like that, or a shaman. And I've cleared some of my own before in the past to help me.
But see, you were on the right direction.
Yeah.
But you veered away from it.
I like that. So
and you're still trying. I believe you still haven't found it yet.
That's funny. I really resonate with everything you're saying, and it feels like really deep and important in my soul, everything I'm learning today.
You should come and do my course. You'll enjoy. I think you'd enjoy it.
Say that.
Good upsell, Tamara.
Yes.
She doesn't see anything in you. She just wants to sell it. No,
I feel honoured that you even said that. So that's really
cool. No, because I've got at the last year, I had 2,000 students. Because I do different Zooms at different times to suit the worlds around the world where they are. And I've got 6 groups now around the world, but there's only one group left. And that's on a Sunday morning. And that's just an hour on a Sunday morning, which I do because certain people in America, that's a Saturday night.
Okay, yeah.
So that way they can connect. And do that, yeah. So, and I think that closes off in about a week or 2 weeks' time, because that starts up in October. And the thing is the membership is also a membership into the clan. You get to meet all the other members. You get to communicate with the elders around the world, and some of them are elders. I mean, there's Wild Goat, who's Geronimo's grandson, Christian.
Oh, right.
Wow.
There's shamans. One of my sons is in Scotland, right up, and he is a chief druid from the Obarts group there. So a lot of my people, and they're all my children, even though some of them are my sons and are my real daughters, but they're all they all call me Mama T, and that's it. I don't like the term Lady Tamara or anything, so they just call me Mama T. And now I've got their children coming to learn from me, and they call me Nana T, because
that's cute.
Yeah, and I've got one in the next class. She's coming in, and she's such a sweetheart. She's had a lot of problems in her life, and I said, well, it's about time you got rid of all your shit and come to see me.
I love it. It's really what you're describing to me sounds like the role, and this word is, I think, even more abused than witchcraft, and you might argue that, but guru, right? Everyone's a IT guru, a freaking guru. But the real sense and the real job of a guru is literally just to shine the light on the person, the student, on who they really are. Now, if you're shining a light on them, there has to be darkness there for that to happen. So you're talking about the initiation and going through and, you know, the death of the ego or the personhood, and then shining a light on what that is. That's not necessarily a fun process. And people have a deep sense and love for their guru, but also have a deep hatred for what they do to them. So if you are looking to really explore this stuff, be careful what you ask for, because it sounds like you're not messing
you're going to
around.
strip down, no. You're going to die, like
you're
you
not,
said.
You're not going to mess around. This is not necessarily for everyone, but it's when it's real. You know, people say, oh, I'm a bit of a guru. You're like, what? You know,
is that what happens? Do people start? Do people start and join, and then they start tapering off because
interesting.
Not under me.
Not under you? I love
No. I purely because I pull them in, because I help them find their true purpose in life to become. And some of them have become chaplains at children's hospitals or prisons and work like this. Some of them are celebrants, funerals, things like this. Some people take people through the death process. I'm registered with 42 hospitals around Australia. You know, I've done more pagan or Wiccan weddings or witchcraft weddings in this country. I was celebrant of the year many years ago, and I did more weddings than anyone else. I'm sometimes doing 4 to 6 weddings a day. It's about the practicality of being able to offer something that people so need and so want in their life. And it's like, whatever your ability is, my job, I don't see myself as a teacher. I see myself as a unteacher. I'm trying to unteach people all the crap that's out there, because there's so much rubbish. And since the New Age movement started coming into being, I'm sick to death of hearing it. I really am. I feel that so many people are so lost their ways that they're just grabbing at straws, saying, well, I'm with the angels and I'm with the crystals and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, I'm doing this, and I'm going, oh, God's sake. You know, I'd slap your child.
Well, it's hard. But how do you know who to listen to?
So many people listening that'll be so sad right now because they just got.
That's true. It hurts, but
I'm not saying everyone.
Yeah.
I'm saying that there's so many lost people out there that this week they're after this thing and next week they're after that, because they're searching instead of just stopping still long enough.
Yeah,
just stop still.
Yes.
Breathe and just for God's sake, say, it's not what I want. It's what I need. And all these people talking about angels all the time, half of them don't have a clue about what an angel is. I mean, I studied the Kabbalah for 40 years and understand the intrinsic concepts of what angels, archangels, archdemons, and all these things are from a Judaic version. See, even angels are not Christian or Judaic. They are originally Persian. Because they used to be called genii or genie. And then they were transformed and given wings by the Christians and called angels.
And can I jump in there as well and say
you can jump in anytime you want, darling.
They're not even Persian, because they were before that as well. So they're just names, right? And so
prior to that, they used to be called the Skywalkers, or they were called the Shining Ones. We in our faith call them the Shining Ones. But we don't give them names. We don't give them names, because if you give them a name, you stop their power. You say,
that's blasphemy.
I'm calling Raphael. Well, Raphael's just got one power about him, or Michael, or whatever. Instead of saying I'm calling on an angel or the angel, you allow that energy to just radiate everything. Instead of, it's like when you say, well, I honor this god or that goddess. You're limiting yourself. Instead of, we don't use names. Man gave God's images and physicalities as a man and a woman or whatever, and gave them a name. But that's limiting. I open myself up to the goddess or the god and leave it there.
That's actually the definition as well of what blasphemy is. It's not using the name Jesus in vain. It's actually putting a shape on something you don't understand. And the consequence of that is not that you burn in hell forever. The consequence of that is you've now limited all of these possibilities and you're just sheltering yourself in, you know, so it's for your own good. It's interesting the way you describe this stuff as well is more about like the whole concept of, we even do that to ourselves. Like, what are you? You know, I'm a shaman, I'm a witch, I'm a this, I'm a that.
Exactly.
And to find out who you are, we can't really conceive who we are, but the best way to do it is to not try and attach ourselves to something that we are, but strip away of what we're not. And then you're closer to what you are. And it sounds like that's exactly, which is a painful process. And you need someone with vision to do that with you. You know, that's
why
the initiation
world
bit, right?
is so lost, because we do not stop long enough and say, well, I'm not Australian, I'm not Chinese, I'm not yellow, I'm not black, I'm not gay, I'm not straight, I am a human being. And once we start going back to that raw essential of who we are and what we are as a human being, then we can evaluate where we're going. But see, people don't do that. We've become so much that, oh, I hate the Chinese, or I hate Indians, or they ring me up all the time. People have always got this attitude of arguing or fighting something because they want to, or they listen to gossip. And to me, listening to gossip is just as bad as speaking gossip.
It feels just as yucky.
Well, I always tell everyone, I say, hearing it is just the same. You know, when somebody says to me, oh, I heard you were a prostitute, say, yes. Oh, I heard you're gay. Yes. Because who knows? Maybe in a past life.
I probably was. Yeah.
I love that. You're acknowledging all of them. It's like, yeah, that's just a facet
I'm
of
everything. You know, the only thing I can't acknowledge is that I've got friends of mine that work with the gay community, the LGBTQ, SPZYX community. There's so many. I just, every year there's a new letter added. And I'm pleased. Just, you know.
They're also very different communities. That's like saying in Australia, like an Aboriginal person, you're like, from which area? Like which tribe, which nation are you talking about? You can't just say Aboriginal people. You can, but it doesn't. One in the middle of WA and one that used to come from somewhere in Tasmania that they don't even exist anymore. They're different people, you know.
The thing is they were the Aboriginal word, or the word Aboriginal, is not theirs anyway.
No.
They are of whatever tribe or family that they come from, and that's who they are.
Exactly.
But see, I don't even like nation. I don't even like this is my country. I don't. That doesn't.
They don't think that way. Yeah.
We're all one, all the same entity, and if we treat it like it does my head in, when you bag somebody else, you're bagging yourself. Like we're all.
Well, you're only picking something that exists in them that already exists in yourself.
Exactly. What you see in others is reflected to you. So if you're narky at everybody and you think they're all jerks, people are jerks, and you're just, that's you.
And I always hear people saying, oh, all these people in darkness, they need to go through the tunnel and see the light. And I go, stuff the tunnel, just be in the bloody light.
You are the light. What are you talking about? Yes. I heard a wise, you're the light. What are you looking at it for? Just be it. One of the things that I heard once that was really, really wise, that helped with all of these questions for me, because I think the questions were wrong, was that you've either got to be, strip everything away that you're nothing at all, or be completely selfish and you are absolutely everything. That's the only way you can really be what it is. You're either none of what's around you, or you're absolutely everything. If you need to be absolutely selfish. So I am you, I am this.
Well, if you were blind, deaf, and couldn't speak, what would you be? Who are you?
Yeah.
So if you never heard anything, never saw anything, never spoke anything, how would you know? You would have to go within. And that's the essence of what everything is in life. So get rid of the sight, get rid of the smell, get rid of the ears, get rid of everything like that, and just become the energy and understand your purpose, who you are and what you are.
Can I touch on, this is changing the subject a little bit, but can I touch on, I guess, kind of the movement behind what you've been doing? I had a past life experience once where I was, I don't know what it was, I don't know enough information about it. It felt like Iceland kind of area, where I was the practicing whatever for the village. It was like in the year maybe 600 and something, and I was the practicing woman of the village. And I went back to when I was a little girl, and people would come to me as a girl. So I already had kind of gifts, and I was already trained up since I was like 5. And this is just a past life experience, could be wrong. This is how I felt it. And the travelers came in with their religion from another land, and it was very patriarchal. And I ended up, the people from the village sent me off to the area where I lived in the mountains, which was like in a cave. It was so cliche, but it was like in a cave, and I was very old. But I was, and in the actual session, I was sobbing. I was so sad. And I just died of starvation or something like that. But I wasn't sad because I died. I was just so incredibly sad. And I've never felt this kind of sadness before, of just the grief and loss of our practice of how we lived. It wasn't so much like it was a religion. It's like, this is how we lived amongst the land. And, people were being killed and things, but that was gone. And I was the last kind of one. I couldn't train someone up. And I was just so, so sad and sobbing. And then when I passed away and went up to the spirit, my spirit guides, my kind of spirit team that were there that I met, they were real smart asses. And I got up there and I was still just so sad and sobbing. And then I start laughing because one of them says, well, you took that one pretty seriously. And then we all just laugh. It's like, how can you say that after what had just happened? But I still remember connecting with that feeling of just that loss of the natural way of life and this patriarchal thing coming in. And when I heard that you had made the Wicca religion, recognized in Australia, when I first heard that, I thought, oh, well, that's cool. It's good. It gives people a chance. But I wonder, is there something bigger about holding this way of life rather than it being a religion, but this way of life to be able to be an important way for us to move forward? Is this part of this ancient knowledge and stuff, a way for us to move forward as a people?
Well, let me just go back. The reason a lot of people think that, they always ask me, why did I formulate the Church of Wicca and things like this? It's the creation of a religious body was more to protect the people, because back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, people were still being imprisoned for witchcraft, for tarot readings, for psychics, all this sort of thing.
That's what I was thinking.
And so I fought the establishment, which took me years and years and years to fight them, and a lot of money to do it, to fight the legalities, to legalize witchcraft or Wicca as a religion. And everyone kept saying it can't be done, it can't be done, it can't be done. I go, oh God, everything can be done. It just takes the right person to do it. You might have 1,000 people attempt to do something in the past, and then all of a sudden one person steps forward and goes, yep, bang, here we go.
Timing as well, right? It can be timing.
It is.
Yeah.
And I did that because I was traveling so many places and meeting so many people, and I found so many people were being harmed because of the terminology of, oh God, you're a Wiccan, you're a witch. But then the people that call themselves witch today, 20 years ago, there's no way in the world that they would have come out and said, oh, I'm a witch. They would be too scared. Absolutely too scared. Because they would be absolutely branded and attacked left, right, and center. And I came out. I wasn't scared. I used to stand up and just laugh and go, yes, I am. And I love you. And do that. But the whole concept was to start to bring a community together. Instead of it being a coven or a group or a circle or whatever, bring a community from across the land and help guide people correctly. Because everything that's new age is not. It's actually old age. It's just been given all these new terminologies and different names. And it doesn't have the in-depth training that's involved. And that's the thing. One of our priests, who's, if you're both into crystals, Adam Barrelay, I don't know if you know him, he's one of Australia's top authorities on crystal. Sorry?
I sure do know him. Yep.
Well, Adam's one of our priests, and he's been initiated by me 25 years ago, and he's actually going to become a high priest this September. So he will be formulating his own. And he's like my son, and he's now written so many books as well, and I've helped guide him to become the best he is, and now he's found his niche, and a lot of other people do as well. And this is what being in this center post of helping the community, you can help people become who they need to become professionally, spiritually, psychically, astrally, whatever you want, and they find their truth. And it's not me finding your truth or saying you need to be this or you need to be that. And even through my teachings, I say, look, I want you all to come here. Treat me as your mum. This is your family. Be honest, be sincere, be truthful. And at the end of the journey, I will help you find your truth, whether it's becoming a witch, whether it's becoming a Buddhist, a Hindu, a Christian, I don't care. As long as you find your truth and connect 100%. Because if you don't connect 100%, then it's all bullshit. It's all lies.
Yes. Yeah,
That's really
absolutely.
lovely, because I was thinking when you're talking about crystals and you don't believe they should be dug up and stuff, that maybe your teachings would be like, no, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. So it's really lovely that you're nurturing and honoring, doesn't matter what, because I'm thinking Adam Barrelay is very much into crystals, and that's why how I met him.
And he loves it. And every time I see him, I say, oh, you're still into those bloody rocks.
So it's okay, right? So that's, yeah, maybe because people are drawn. I believe we're all meant to help people find peace and to learn to love themselves and connect with the earth. And some people will be drawn to those things. And so we need all types of different modalities and different types of people out there. So other people can go to where they're drawn to learn about themselves.
And that's right. And see, the thing is that he studies so much about crystals and things. And a long time ago, I gave him a lump of coal. And I sent that to him, and I gave him this lump of coal, and he goes, what's this for? I said, well, you're into crystals. He said, that's not a crystal. I said, no.
It will be.
But I said, but you have been training for 20 years, 25 years. And with all that power and all that pressure, can't you change that into the crystal that you desire? And he goes, oh. And every time I talk to him, I say, so have you turned into a diamond yet?
I hope he does one day, just to throw you off.
Oh, that would spin me out.
He's
I'd
just
answer
gonna,
it back.
Yeah,
I'd answer it back.
exactly.
It was a big piece of coal.
Yeah, he's gonna Saint Germain your ass and alchemy and just turn it into a diamond.
Very much so.
That was a 60s term for anyone that remembers the 60s. Saint Germain, you'll be fine.
I have a Saint Germain t-shirt.
Oh, you do? I picked you up on that once. You wore that. I'm like, oh my God, Saint Germain. I did have one thing that you mentioned. I kind of write notes sometimes.
I lied.
Yeah, I don't know that you did. I don't know that you did, because you brushed over it and just kept going. We're being honest and truthful here. You were talking about the angels, and then archangels, and then archdemons or archdevils, and then you just move on. And I'm just like, whoa, what? Wait a sec. So one thing I'm interested in is because, is everything just light? So when you practice or pray to things or access the other side, is it all good, or are there some dangers? Is there some dark stuff in there, and is that something why you need guidance to be careful?
Everyone needs guidance, and there is a lot of things out there that can hurt you, but there's only one thing that really does hurt you, and that's your own ignorance. The more ignorant you are, the more you're available to being hurt, harmed, whatever. And the thing is ignorance is our greatest teacher. If we get rid of ignorance, then we can learn from it. But we need to learn to understand what it means to be ignorant. It's not a derogatory term. It's not a horrible term. It just means we are all ignorant. I'm ignorant of so much knowledge in this world, but I have my lifetime that I am here to learn everything I can and study everything I can. I have one of the biggest esoteric occult spiritual libraries in the world with 50,000 occult books. And believe you me, I haven't even got a fraction of the way through them, but I'm trying to understand as much as I can. And my memory is so good at remembering things that I can remember pages and things like this. And yet I can't remember what I did yesterday sometimes.
I say this all the time. The unimportant stuff just leaves my brain because there's so many other things in there that I don't remember what a holiday I went in 3 years ago. Like it's gone.
I'm often told by my beautiful wife how often I remember the most useless information. So I'm useful on a trivia night and completely useless as a husband sometimes. She remembers all the important stuff, and I remember just dumb facts that
but the fact is it's not about remembering dates and times and figures. It's about how you don't remember them or how you remember them.
So ignorance is. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, I just want to bring it back because this is amazing what you're saying. Like the ignorance. This is the dumbest question. Ignorance of what? I'm ignorant to what? The ignorance of what? Like what can we find ourselves in trouble doing then? Should we not dabble in stuff that we don't fully understand or don't have guidance with?
Unless you
Is
have
that
a
a
mentor.
way to avoid
Mm.
harm?
If you don't dabble, you won't understand.
Okay.
We've got to,
okay.
you know, when you got a push bike for the first time, you've got to get on, you've got to learn, and you've got to fall, and you've got to work it out. It's about knowing the light and dark, the rights and wrongs, but it's about you and your journey and whether you have the courage and conviction to fight for what it is. So do you really want to learn to ride this bike, or is it because all your friends have got a bike and you haven't? What is the purpose behind you choosing this direction or this path? If you really want to understand crystals, then study them, understand their resonance and power. And then I guarantee you will pull back from them and you will be adverse to all these people with all these crystals because you know the energy and power. And it's the same as with angels. Understanding angels, then if you're going to do it, don't do it half-heartedly and pretend to be into angels, because I am so tired of people that say, I know this and they know stuff all.
It's interesting. I evolved from, I know I'm on a different path to what you would recommend, Tamara. Except, so when I used to be in contact, when I was new, it was all about angels and crystals, and that's how we all start, I think. And then as I learned and I got shown things, I don't just learn everything like the old-fashioned way in a class. Sometimes I just channel extra information. And then I stopped actually connecting with angels directly, and I just go straight to source. But then depending on my client, I will say, like, you know, connect with their angel or guide that's showing, but it's for them. So I kind of talk about it in a different vibration that matches their energy that they would understand. Because if I went and talked about how I've been shown and what I know, it'd be too much for them to grasp because they're not there yet. And that's okay. So I find that I tune in depending on where they're at. If I tell someone I see Archangel Raphael with them, I know a bit different as to what you were saying, how it's all just us really, and we're all connected and there's helpers and guides. But what was we getting at? Why did I say that? I can't remember why I started.
I don't know. Where are you going with this? No,
Where am I going with that?
The thing I think with most people that deal with the angels, I don't think they understand what they're dealing with. I think that 80% of the time, it's not actually the angels, but it's the ancestors. It's the energies of the people, of those people that are behind. We give them the term angels because we like to think the concept of when our loved ones pass on, they're elevated to the angelic realms and things like this. So they're our angels. They're our cupids, our guardians. But it's not so, because we have so many different levels of how we do it. And it is far easier for somebody to say, I can see around you a light figure who is your ancestor, the angel of your life, your guardian.
Guardian,
But focus on the ancestral concept of who their mortality or their life was and bring that out, because that will resonate more with that person than a concept of an angel that they do not understand completely or fully. And that is the difference between people that go, oh, yes, I could, oh, yes, they're here. And you go, oh, for God, you know, how long
Xavier's doing that all of the time. Like, he can barely get a podcast done without her going, oh, we're covered in roundabout.
Well,
she doesn't.
I've got filming.
I just switch.
See, people say to me, how can you prove magic? And I said, look, I prove it every day. I prove it every day. I've got photos of things that are just not being able to be explained.
Awesome.
My sister, who passed away in 1982, she was killed in a car accident, was very much a psychic medium. And she used to go into full, I suppose you would call them seances back then, or things like that. And she would actually fully ectoplasmic in everything that she did. Wow. I could never do that. That just wasn't me. That was icky. That was just, you know, but that wasn't my world. That wasn't my education. And she was incredible at all this sort of thing, at doing all that. That was her forte, her magic. Not mine. Not mine. Yeah.
So do you actually do, like, this sounds, I'm asking for the viewers that are watching, thinking how we're talking about the shamanism and connecting to the earth and all that beautiful magic. Do you actually do spells and things, or do you teach that when you're teaching people? Like,
okay, I mean, spellcraft is something very important, but so are prayers. So when a person goes to their church or their faith, they pray, they make prayers, and so what a prayer asks God or deity to assist in giving them what they want. A spell And that's 3 seconds. Oh, please God, give me this gorgeous looking hunky boyfriend that's going to marry me. I'm going to have 12 children and win lotto. Thank you. And then you leave. But I would just go back to that.
Wow, we just got an insight straight into your brain there. Did you just a second there go, wait, I just gave too much? No.
What other people ask for, she knows.
No, I've had 2 husbands in my life. My first husband was from a teenager till he passed away in 2000. And he was 12 years my junior. And my second husband was 25 years my junior, up until just last year when he's gone. So, yeah. So it's because of my young energy, my spirit energy. I'm sort of like that as much as I can. But there's a lot of things that I think that what we need to do is we just need to focus a little bit more, as much as we possibly can, on who we are. And how about ask me another question?
No, so with spells, with a spell then.
All right.
Spell.
All right. A
because people are stereotyping who are listening. So they're wondering if
so
it's spells.
Well, we all do spellcrafts.
Yes.
Spellcraft is the ability to take control and be master of your own life. Mm-hmm. So then what we do is in spellcraft, instead of asking God to do it for us, we are asking our inner self to do it and be connecting with the energies of spirit, fae, fairies, nature, elementals, whatever you want to call it. And we then use a little bit from each elemental realm to do it, whether it's incense, whether it's crystals, whether it's rocks, whether it's salt, whether it's herbs, whether it doesn't matter. And we would use that then to create. But it's not so much the item or the tool that you're using, but the energy behind of what it is. The same as I refuse to do healings. And yet I have assisted in thousands of healings.
Yes, exactly. Assisted them, not healing them. We're holding space.
I will never heal anybody, but I will send. And when we have major issues, and now we've done it before. We had one of our children that was in hospital with very, very ill, terminal. And I told everyone, I do not want you to send healing energy. I do not want you to send light. I want you to just send energy to the mother of that child, who is more connected to that child than any of us will ever be. Send it to her, allow just her love and compassion and that energy, because your soul, your spirit knows what it wants and what it needs.
Exactly.
We don't.
We might not meant to be healed. It might be their time to go. So you can't push.
And so the soul will take that energy, work it, use it, and do what it has to do. And that child is now fine.
That's amazing. And I think what you've described there is, it's easy to say prayer is, and for a lot of people it is just asking God for stuff that you want. But like true
God's
prayer,
busy. God's busy.
But you don't know. What's right for this earth and what's going on here. You haven't got all the information to know what's the right thing. It's interesting that a lot of where prayer has been really powerful in my experience is when people have gotten together and gone, we don't even know what to pray for. Let's just pray and just be silent. And they sit there. That's exactly when amazing and incredible energies and things happen, is when they get out of the way and just go, God, it's in your hands. So it's interesting that there's a real truth in a lot of these things that passes through. Like you've just explained what a mantra is as well, like a true mantra is, they don't worship the deity to go, wow, this, Hanuman, like monkey guy is going to help me. They channel the energy of Hanuman within themselves for compassion and strength in something. Do you know what I mean? Like it sounds like that's exactly what you're describing. When you can get to the essence of it, get out of the way, but channel from what's within. That sounds like that. So with a spell, you could do the same thing where you could just say some kind of spell and not have meaning behind it, and it's not going to do anything. But if it comes from somewhere deep within, is that where a spell is going to have more power?
It's about also learning to understand and connect with the invisible, within the visible, the light force or energy. Okay. And that's what takes years of training of doing that. And
how it's about,
you've got to understand it. You've got to work with it. So forget the physicality of everything. And this is the hard thing. See, in shamanism or true witchcraft, you push the physical aspect away. So you don't look at it as a tree or a shrub. You don't look at it as a human or an animal. You look at the essence behind it. of what the energy is, because that's what shamans work with, and that we work with the energy, not the being or the outer observance of what it is. And that's the difference. The more you see in the physicality, the lower your thought waves are, and you can't reach or connect with that spirituality or that
Wrong filter.
Yeah,
You're looking at it
they're
through,
all walls for a
Yeah.
reason, because our sexless age of soul is so vulnerable if we allow it to be. So we're protected by the astral body, the psychic body, the spiritual, the earth body. It's protected by all these things like an onion.
Right.
They have all these layers, and you've got to peel every layer to get to that essence. And that takes training. That takes a lot of our work and energy.
What are we vulnerable to?
Ignorance.
Mhm.
We're
So it's not
stupid.
bliss.
Humans are stupid. We're so gullible.
Oh, we are.
We want to understand and believe everything. And somebody will come to us and go, "Oh, I just saw this." And you go, "Really? Wow." And then, did you see those 12 alien UFOs? Yeah, I saw them. It's like the old story where a drunk comes out of the tavern walking home, and he sees a witch jumping over a field or a woman on a broomstick, and he goes back to the tavern. He goes, "I just saw a dozen witches flying through the air." And then the story, all of a sudden, there was a whole 100 of witches flying through the air, going to a sabbat, dancing naked and having orgies.
Chinese whispers.
It just, well, I don't even think the Chinese whispered that much, but I mean, it's everything is just blown out of proportion. We exaggerate so much because we want to embellish. We want everything to be so incredibly beautiful in our lives that we've got to add a little bit of glitter. We're worse than bowerbirds. We add the sparkle to everything.
And often the truth of it is actually more beautiful than the crazy story we made up as well, and more powerful and more connected. It just we can't necessarily describe it because it's probably of a different higher dimension, so it's hard to describe. Which might be why we try and make up other stories to try and communicate how we felt rather than what actually happened. So we've got these layers though. These different layers. What is our soul vulnerable to when we're down here? I know
it's still every layer is still vulnerable to the same things. We're still vulnerable, but the fact is the soul is a connected tissue to everything that is. It's not separate from, but it is part of. Where our physicality is separate from everything.
Correct.
So one is connected to everything and one is not. And then we've got the mentality side where we want to be connected to everything, and then we've got, so every level we've got either we are, we aren't, we can be, we should be, we shouldn't be, we won't be. It's up to the individual and their skill set or training to know if they are connected by that web, by that thing. Like in psychic phenomena, they say when you astral project or astral travel, that you have a silver cord from the base of your spine connecting you to wherever it is. And then I say, okay, well then I remember years ago walking around and just astrally projecting myself with a big pair of silver scissors and severing those cords and saying, okay, everyone's floating around like a balloon, now what? To see if that's real. And I say to people, I did that. Did you see me? Did you feel me do that? And they go, yeah, no, maybe.
Oh, you're a dark witch. So you're one of the dark witches then.
I am.
Using scissors. That's how much trouble. So what was the outcome?
Well, it's better to say a ritual dagger or a knife because that's more threatening.
And it's
all
way
made
more
out of
romantic.
selenite.
Every grandmother has a pair of scissors. It's okay.
I love that you've added so much more depth to learning with you as part of the family, that you're not just jumping on a Zoom and they're getting a red candle with a green piece of ribbon and scratching someone's name in some kind of spell. It's so much more than what some people would think. That learning.
The fact is that everything in my course is so involved. It's covering every aspect, hundreds and hundreds of different things that are all connected to each other but not connected to each other. And it gives you, at this level, as a seeker, what I call seekers. And the thing is at the end of it, as I said, not everyone will continue on with the path, but 9 times out of 10 you have the right bait, you catch the right fish.
I love that.
And-
That's
And
amazing.
it's true. And spirituality is no different to a business or to an enterprise, because my bait is the bait for your soul. And if your soul connects to that and wants that, then it will attract to it. If it doesn't, then the bait will just be there and you won't catch anything. It's about connecting and understanding the vibration. And it's a mutual vibration. It's about the electromagnetic pulling it in, drawing it, whatever it is. But my job is to, as I said, unteach people, to get rid of all the crap that's out there where people are getting more confused, because there's so much and it's changing. You know, people never used to talk the way they talk these days. People never used to insult people or abuse people or talk down about people or just be rude, just so rude. We need to go back to be respectful again. You know, it's important.
And look, traveling the world, really excessively traveling the world is fairly new. You know, it's about really, I don't know, about 100 years old that we can all really travel the world like, you know, through planes and things. And then this kind of travel through the internet is even newer again. So to be fair to everyone as well, it's all very new, and we are stumbling around in the dark a little as a people, as a society, you know, turning from small tribes into literally one massive tribe.
And see, this isn't new. This has been around for thousands of years. We just never used a device to do it. We used to use our minds to do it.
Wow. Okay. So, and we should finish soon.
Now. We have so many. Yeah, we could talk for hours.
What amazing ancient technology do you think we can get back in the next, say, 10 years? Like amazing ancient technology, like
ancient
that kind
technology.
Yeah,
Ancient.
like you're talking about, you know, using our mind to connect with each other.
Yeah, see, that's technology. The word technology, we've only had that sort of technology for a couple 100 years or something. But the concept of being able to project or connect through thought, through mind, through astral, through whatever you want to call it, has always been there. But I don't see that as technology. There. That's natural. It's like when a child is separated from the mother feels that child or senses that child or has that awareness. You know, you've got those energies, and the more connection you have to someone, the more you're able to connect with that person when they're not near you or with you. You know, and I think that's all it is people have forgotten. You know, like I say to a lot of people go, oh, how come? Look, I love magic. I said, well, then why don't you believe in it? Because you don't believe in it. And 90% of the people out there that say that they do believe in it don't, because they don't understand it. And the thing is magic doesn't exist for a lot of people because people have stopped believing in magic. And we've forgotten to be spiritual beings. We've forgotten to elevate ourselves and respect each other as spiritual entities, instead of saying, well, I don't like you because you got red hair or blue eyes or pink, you know. We've got to stop looking at the bad in people. We've got to stop analyzing and judging people just for our own ego. And that's what it's about.
So
let's put down Mick because he's an idiot, you know. Let's put him down. He doesn't know what he's saying. Let's put him down, you know.
I don't. That was accurate. You could have picked something fictitious, but that's okay.
Well, I was actually talking about another person named Mick.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
well, all right. But so do you think then that connecting with nature, like doing the opposite of like, oh, what technology can I, you know, access from the ancients, and actually connecting back with nature in some way and really connecting with that's going to help us with becoming more spiritual?
I think with you've got your brain work in technology.
Yeah.
Technology.
Many people do.
Technology.
Yeah.
So technical knowledge. Yeah. Okay. So basically, I don't understand that term. Yeah. I don't know technical knowledge because I'm not techie.
Yeah.
But get rid of all this crap and I'll still exist and be able to connect with everybody around me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So when the world hits the, you know, shit hits the fan, they say.
It's just one solar. One solar flare hits us and like all our tech doesn't work.
I'm off the grid here, and I I've written a whole book on basically on prepping and things like this for people. So I've got my cages of protection. I've got different things to protect things. So, solar flares, all that sort of thing. I'm prepared and ready. I'm off grid here. I've got 5 huge, massive 50,000 litre bloody rainwater tanks. I've got my own springs and all that sort of thing. I've got all my vegetables and fruit and herbs and all that. I have medicine. I teach medicine to people because I used to teach at the university on the herbal medicine. And that's my forte, how to teach a person to heal from within, than me trying to just say, well, I'm going to heal you. So
very powerful. We can't keep going. I know it's already an hour and a half. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Been
Thank
so
you.
Beautiful. Yeah. Stop talking.
You wrap it up. I'll stop talking. Go. Wrap it. Go, Xavier.
Wrap her in a beautiful bow.
Yeah.
We really, really do appreciate you taking time out of your crazy busy schedule to speak to us and to help open the minds of so many people that will be listening today. And we know the right people will find this podcast and be excited to meet you. And I love that you've unwrapped so many different aspects and taught people so much. It's just been really beautiful. So thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
And you, thank you very much. It's been quite different to many interviews, and I think quite no in a very positive way, purely because I find a lot of people just want to ask questions and they've written down all the series of questions. You've been able to naturally flow and move and dance with me in this eternal dance, which is wonderful. And then to everybody and to yourselves, I give you my hand, I give you my heart. Merry we meet and merry we part, and merry we'll meet again. Stay blessed, stay safe, and always be beautiful. Love you all. Blessed be.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Tamara.
That's it for another episode. Thanks to our major supporter, Subtle Energy Sciences. Click the link in the show notes to access their full product range of quantum healing technology.
We're blown away by this technology and are so excited to share it with you.
And of course, we really want to hear from you.
Please leave your comments on our YouTube channel, or for those podcast listeners, you can email us at mickandthepsychic@gmail.com to leave your feedback or questions.
I'm a certified hypnotherapist and timeline regression therapist. If you wish to contact me to explore the source of an issue you're facing, just book a session at hernhypnosis.com and include the promo code MATP for 10% off. You can contact me on Insta and Facebook at hernhypnosis.
Check out my website at optimisticxavier.com.au if you feel you'd like to connect with me as a psychic medium, spiritual mentor, or intuitive coach. Include the promo code MATP for 10% discount. You can also find me on Insta, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
We look forward to connecting with you again next time as we attempt to leave no stone unturned.
Bye.
All right, cool. I reckon that should be okay.